Hi everyone, it's Mari here for Honeybee Stamps. Today I'm going to be creating 3 pretty cards for you, showing you how to create some really lovely focal points for your die cuts. I'm starting off here with my Sweet Stacks rectangles, and I'm going to take this size that you can see here. I'm going to use that to die cut out an aperture or an opening in the center of my A2 sized white cardstock here. So I'm just going to tape that die in place, and I'm taking a card front that's also A2 sized in white, and I'm just going to go ahead and tape this aperture, mask, whatever you want to call it, in the rectangular shape over top of my card front. And once I've got that in place, now I have a really easy way to ink blend some ink onto the center of my A2 size cardstock here, so that it just creates this really beautiful home for your focal point pieces, which in this case is going to be, or my case is going to be, a bunch of die cuts. Now, I'm just using a bunch of colors that I happen to love. I'm using a combination of blues and teals from Ranger. These are the mini distress oxide ink cubes, and I'm using peacock feathers. There's I think I've got, oh gosh, I don't even remember exactly what colors I used, but you can probably see the names on the cubes there over to the right on the desk. But I just literally picked like some of the colors that I just love in blue. So I think I probably used speckled egg and stormy sky, maybe faded jeans, maybe chipped sapphire, just any of the colors that you really enjoy using. And I started with the darkest color down in the bottom left corner, and then I blended the colors that I used up into the top right corner, going from darkest to lightest. And that top right corner, I try to keep it as almost like as white as possible, but I do want to create the sense of that corner existing in that top right corner. So you can see me here adding just a tiny little bit of color there so that I do get that edge of that rectangle all the way around. And then I'm left with this really beautiful white frame. So I love that. And I wanted to show you, I'm just going to do a few other color combinations here. This time I'm using dye ink, and I'm just using the inks I have in my stash. So I happen to have pink fresh dye ink in my stash. I'm using the brushes that I already have used for those colors, and I'm going from darkest to lightest here again. So darkest kind of being that darker, deeper pink color, then going into some ranges of oranges and peaches, and I'm overlapping them, but again, creating that lighter area in the top right corner. So darkest to lightest, diagonally up into the other corner there. And I just love that. It's a really, really easy way to create your focal point with your ink blending. And you can do this with rectangle dies. So really cool if you've got stacking circles. If you have our Sweet Stack circle dies, you could do this with circles, ovals, whatever you like. So now I'm going in with some greens. Again, dye inks. You can use your oxides. You can use any of your oxide color ranges for this. Totally up to you, whatever you like to do. They all blend beautifully, and just use what you have in your stash. Honeybee does carry oxide inks, which is great, and we do have those new cubes. So if you want those, you can find those in the shop. Here I'm going from darkest to lightest with green. I wanted to darken up this green area in the bottom corner here when I was finished, so I just went in with this really nice dark tealy green color, and that's going to finish up my green panels. So now I've got these beautiful panels. I actually have an extra one that I created off camera. So I've got 4 panels, really fast and easy to do to create my projects. And I actually used one of my stitched rectangle dies to die cut them out again with a stitching detail around the outside edge. So you'll be able to see that on the finished cards. So now I'm ready to go on to embellishing these beautiful focal point areas. And I really wanted to use this stamp from Honeybee. This is the Vintage Flora stamp set. It's one of our red rubber stamps, which are so gorgeous. They have such beautiful detail. And I'm going to put this into my Alt New stamp wheel. I'm going to stamp this out onto some white cardstock. I've inked it up with some clear embossing ink. I'm just going to treat my paper quickly with an anti-static powder tool so that my embossing powder only sticks to the ink and not the paper. And I'm going to give this a really good press. And once I've got that embossed beautiful image stamped out, or that image stamped out, I'm going to go ahead and emboss it with this gorgeous gold embossing powder. So I'm just covering the whole image with this embossing powder in gold. I'll just give that a little bit of a tap so that the extra embossing powder falls off. And now I'm just going to go in with my heat tool and I'm going to go ahead and heat that up. You will see some of that embossing powder falling onto my desk. You know what I use to clean that up is a lint roller. I just roll it over my desk, over my glass mat, and it picks up all that excess powder. Now that that's heated up and melted, I'll set it off to the side, and I'm going to put all of my images that I have inked up into my splat box, and I'm going to cover up my margin again with my mask, and I'm going to splatter with gold watercolor, and that's just going to add a little bit of extra pretty shine and detail to my backgrounds. And once I've got those all splattered, I'll set those aside for a few minutes to dry. And now I've done some die cutting. So I'm going to use, this is the Lovely Layers Spring Greenery die set, but I used a combination of the Lovely Layers Spring Greenery, the Lovely Layers Herb Garden, and the Lovely Layers Greenery die sets. So that first one I showed you was Spring Greenery. This one is Herb Garden. And I die cut some of these with just white cardstock and some with that gold embossed paper. And you can see how gorgeous this creates these beautiful pieces for your focal point for your card. I'm going to put some of these on with dimensional adhesive, with foam adhesive. You wouldn't have to do that. You can put these down flat onto your card front if you want to create a flat card. Totally up to you. And I'm going to just put a little bit of Honeybee liquid adhesive on the very tips of these stems so that those stems are going to stick down flat to the card, because I am going to put my sentiment down there at the bottom. So I'm not sure if you can see the die cut detail of the stitching around the outside edge, but I did use a stitch rectangle die to die cut those panels out. Now these are the mini messages sets from Honeybee. There's a bunch of different sets of these stamps. This is the first one that came out. It's called Mini Messages, and it literally has a sentiment for almost anything that you can think of. And there are coordinating dies. And then we came out with one for Christmas and so on and so forth. So if you just search on the site for Mini Messages, it'll show you all of the different ones that we have, and they're fantastic. And so I've stamped out a sentiment for each one of my cards, and I've just stamped them in black ink, and then I've die cut them, and I'm adhering those to the bottom of each of the cards with some foam adhesive just to add some dimension. And then I took my Lovely Layers Heart Vines die. I've used this die so much in so many projects just to add a little bit of delicate die cutting detail to each one of my cards. And now I'm just going to show you each of the finished cards. They look so nice, and I'm really happy with how these turned out. Friends, you can find all of the different products that I've used in the description box below. I've linked up to all of those products in the Honeybee shop so that you can find those. Those are affiliate links. If you shop with those links, I do receive a small commission at no extra cost to you, and I'd really appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And please leave me a comment and let me know if you were inspired and what you'd like to try on your cards. Have a wonderful day, friends, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Take care.